The following is a video tutorial on how to create the linkage arm for the model miniature train. We see here the documentation that's provided by Project Lead the Way, and we have a couple of different dimensions to look at here. We have a 3.5 inches from center of the circle here to center of the circle here. I have a thickness on this bar piece right here of 0.25 inches. I have a thickness going this way of 0.125 inches. And then I have a diameter here that says 0.128 for this interior circle, and it's a through hole, so it'll go all the way through the part. And then the last dimension on here is a radius of 0.1875, and that'll be for this outside circle that you see here. So there's a couple of different ways we go about making this part. I'm going to make it one certain way so that I can show you one of the new features that we have not talked about in Inventor so far, which is the mirror command. So I'm going to go ahead and essentially model half of this linkage arm, and when it's all said and done, I'll use the mirror command to flip it over to the other side. That way I'll have the entire piece. I'm just going to switch over real quick, and you can take a look at my documentation that I provided here. You see a lot of the same numbers, 3.5 from center to center, the interior diameter is here, the radius here, the thickness, and the thickness. So the exact same thing. I've just provided it for you in a multi-view, whereas they provided it for you in an isometric. So to get started here, I'm going to switch over to my Inventor. I'm going to create a new file, making sure that it is English and a standard inch part. I'm going to say create. Alright, and the first thing I can do here is create a sketch. And I'm going to select this plane, and I'm going to start right in the center here where we see that point. So I'm going to grab my line tool. I know per the documentation here that this thickness from right here is 0.25. So that is going to be the first thing that I put down. It's going to be 0.25 for the thickness. I then know that from the center of that line, and I can actually get to the midpoint there, and you'll see a little green dot show up on your screen. Clicked off from the midpoint, and I know that it's 3.5 from center to center of the interior circle. But since I'm only modeling half of this, I can do 3.5 divided by 2, and that'll get me the distance from the exact middle of the linkage arm, which we could say is somewhere in around about here, and then out to the circle. So now that I have that line that goes all the way to where it needs to be in the middle there, I can then create a interior diameter for that hole of 0.128 inches. So I'm going to grab my circle here, and right at the end of that line I'm going to type in 1.28 and say enter. So that's my interior circle. The other thing that I can do is also lay out the larger circle here, because they are concentric with each other, the smaller one and the bigger one, so meaning that they have the same center point. And that one needs to be a radius of 0.1875. So back to Inventor here, I'm going to grab my circle command once again, selecting the same center point, and it's 0.1875. But that's the radius, and I'm entering the diameter here, so I need to say times 2. Hit enter, and now we have that there. Alright, the last couple of things I need to do here is just take my line tool, and from the top of where we started with this line over here, I can take that straight across into the circle at no particular dimension. Same thing on the bottom. And then what we can do from here now is use our trim command to take out any of the unnecessary parts. So I know that I can trim this off here, this here. This line in its entirety I'm not even going to need anymore, so I can just delete that. And then finally trim off this piece of the circle there, and there you have it. That is half of our part of what we need so far. Alright, I'm going to say finish sketch. And then at this point I'm going to extrude it the thickness that we want it to be. And we can see here that it is 0.125 going backwards. So So in Inventor here, I'm going to say distance, you need to be 0.125, and say OK. And we're almost done. We're almost to the last part here. All we need to do is essentially mirror this half of the part over itself. So to do so, I'm going to come up to the mirror command, which we see in the pattern panel here. It is the third option on the bottom. Say mirror command. If you hover over it, you'll see the tooltip here gives you a couple of screenshots of what this tool might be capable of. So essentially we could pick a part and then select a plane and mirror it over that plane. So I'm going to select the mirror command here. Features is the first thing that's highlighted for me. I want to select my extrusion. Alright, you should see blue dashed lines now surrounding the perimeter of that part. The next thing I need to select is the mirror plane. And the mirror plane here is just going to be this flat surface. I could probably also click on the the YZ plane as well, and it would do the same thing. But I'm just going to go ahead and select the surface. You should see a green outline then of what that part will be once we say OK. It looks good to me, so I'm going to hit OK. And there you have it. That is the linkage arm. Now, of course, the last thing to do here would be to set the material, which needs to be ABS plastic. And then I can go and check out my eye properties and make sure that they match what they need to be. So I'm looking at 0.005 here for a mass, an area of 3.1, and a volume of 0.123. I'm just going to jump over to my eye properties here, and we'll double check those numbers to see if they're accurate. Now it looks like I might need to reload my page. And there we go. I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit, and there you have it. A 0.005 mass with an area of 3.1 and a volume of 123 is exactly what we're looking for here, and that is what I have in my part. So if you follow these steps, it's a simple sketch, an extrusion, and a mirror over its own plane. You should be able to create this part with little to no ease.